Teach me?
First learn stand, then learn fly.
Yeah.
Nature ruled on you, son, not the mind.
I know what you're trying to do.
I'm trying to free your mind, Neo. But I can only show you the door. You're the one that has to walk through it.
What is the most inspiring thing I ever said to you?
Don't be an idiot. Changed my life.
Welcome to the Cybersecurity Mentors Podcast. I'm John Hoyt.
And I'm Steve Higuereta. We are here to be your guides for all things cybersecurity mentorship.
Join us as we explore the stories, insights, and invaluable lessons shared by mentors and mentees alike.
We are here to empower and inspire you on your cybersecurity journey. So get ready for a deep dive into the world of cybersecurity mentorship. Welcome to another episode of Cybersecurity Mentors Podcast. In today's episode, we will be talking about why choose a career in cybersecurity. What's the hype? Why is everybody trying to start a career in cybersecurity? We'll talk a little bit about cybercrime, job increase in cybersecurity, and then dive deeper into some of the different career paths within cybersecurity that individuals could take if they're interested. Well, to start us off, why choose a career in cybersecurity, John?
Lots of reasons. A lot of people maybe think that it's something and not another, but for me, and the reason I tell people, hey, come over to cybersecurity, come to the dark side or the light side, is it is exciting. It's not always exciting. It's not always, you're not always in the heat of a battle with a threat actor or bad guy, but that does happen. And there is a greater good you feel like you're part of. Now, you might be a little bit like Batman. Nobody knows who you are and what you're doing, right? You don't know your alter ego. But there are definitely times where you're doing stuff and you know you've helped protect your organization. And it feels good. It feels good to do that. It feels good to show that you've done something for the greater good and you've gone toe to toe with the bad guys. Now, I love those moments because that's what we're here for. That's what it's about, is not just all the fluff. For me, it's what it's about. It's, hey, threat actors are trying to get in. We're stopping them. We stopped them, right? Now, sometimes they get in and they do get in and then you're dealing with them still, but that's a big, I like being in the heat of the moment. Now, when I came from, before security, I came from system administration, and there was a big change because as a system admin, I was kind of jack of all trades, but as a sysadmin, you get to see right away you're fixing somebody's problem. You get to make their day better. They call you up and they're like, my printer's broke, my computer's broke. Now, usually they call you up, they're upset, but you get to walk over and, all right, no problem. Tell me what's going on, right? And it's actually a great skill that you get to just de-escalate. Tell me what's going on, okay? And then you become the hero, hopefully, and you fix the problem. And they're like, oh man, thank you. You know, you made their day better, and you get to see that immediate gratification. But in cybersecurity, you don't always get that immediate gratification. People don't even know what happened. Hopefully, they don't even have a clue that you had an incident. So it took me a little while to get past that. Man, this isn't the same thing of getting the helping somebody and making their day better. And it's usually on a bigger scale. And they may not even know about it. But those times do happen. And there really is an adversary out there that is trying to get you, trying to get your data, trying to get access to your stuff. And you have to stop them. And so for me, I love it. I love that part about it. It may not be for everybody. And there's different ways you can do that. It isn't all technical, as we'll talk about. It could be you're doing more compliance to help make sure the bigger goal of everybody's falling in line to be hardened or meet compliance. But there's a purpose for you to protect your organization. And that's how I sell it when I talk to people. This is why you should go into cybersecurity. One of the reasons.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think you explained it very well. And I I am someone who takes pride in my work, right? I like to do things. I like to do them right. And just to know that, hey, my team and we were part of stopping an incident from completely taking our organization to its knees, right? Or saving, certain individuals from getting their identity stolen or whatever it may be, right? If we are able to help someone or an organization, that to me means a lot. So yeah, very, very purpose driven. But there are a lot of other reasons why I would say people should consider a job in cybersecurity or, think about growing a career in cybersecurity. Some of those are, continuous learning. You are learning all the time. I mean, things are changing, things are rapidly evolving. What's new today will be old tomorrow, and it's just constantly learning. So if you're an individual who likes to always be learning, always be tackling new situations differently, this is definitely an area for you. Not to mention just a variety of roles, and we will go into more detail within later in this podcast. But there's just so much within or under the cybersecurity umbrella that a large number of individuals with different backgrounds, different experiences can come in and help and be part of cybersecurity. Job security, we're going to talk a little bit about that as well. Just the growth of opportunities and just jobs and these just opportunities overall that are coming up and continue to grow within cybersecurity. And one thing which might be the most important is attractive salaries. I mean, most of the time, cybersecurity professionals do well for themselves, which is, something you can't just look over. Absolutely. But yeah, it is a profession that is high in demand and will continue to be. And if John, if you don't have anything else to add, I'd move us over to kind of what the projections are for the coming years.
Yeah, just the one last thing is that you won't be bored. There's a lot to do. You never know what your day is going to be like, and that's exciting for me. You could be you think it's going to be a normal day, then all of a sudden you're in the thick of things, and it can be stressful too. Don't get me wrong. There's times when you're dealing with things that is stressful, but it's kind of a never a dull moment. And job security, right? There's so many domains that you have to be involved with. That's another attractive thing for me. Is there's so many things you have to be proficient at some level in. That's attractive to me. So there, to me, there's so many cool things about it that I definitely am one out there beating the drum, like go this way. And if you're listening to this podcast, you probably are already on board. You're like, okay, this is I'm on the path. I want to go this route. But you're asking yourself, well, how do I do that? Or, what's the next steps?
Yeah, absolutely. So I was doing some research before the podcast and just wanted to throw some numbers out there for you in case you're not aware or in case you're new and trying to get an idea of the potential of cybersecurity as a career. So the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics for employment, they expect a growth of 32% from 2022 to 2032. And that is huge. That is huge. That is, I believe they said that is one of the top three areas for growth in the upcoming year. So that there tells you, cybersecurity is not going anywhere. Cybersecurity positions are going to continue to open up, to be available, we're going to need cybersecurity professionals.
Yeah, I mean, AI is coming, Skynet. So you either got to be in the know and be on the good side when it becomes fully operational. No, there's not going to be a shortage anytime soon. We don't have enough people that know how to do this. That is a fact. We need more people. So that's definitely going to be, and the crime is just exploding. It's so easy nowadays for cyber criminals to do their thing and never be in the same country, not the same time zone, and really with little to no ramifications that you can't go arrest these folks. So it makes it a very dynamic need that you need folks to protect and mitigate these threats, because trying to go after them is very challenging, and to stop the crime is challenging. It's just going to increase, and they're going to use tools like AI to make it better for them. So yeah, it's definitely on the uptrend.
Yeah, and I can say, and so can you, John, since the introduction of ChatGPT, our phishing attacks have increased. I mean, they've gone to another level. Like, they seriously have. So it's just, as these, AI and all these cool tools come out, there's always going to be those individuals that are going to use good things for bad, for evil, right? And they're going to turn around and find a way, how can I use this to improve what I'm trying to do, which is not good, and really, catch someone. So there's always going to be work. So in 2023, FBI, the Internet Crime Center, received over 880,000 complaints from the United States alone. Now, those are complaints that were reported. You have to add in a couple extra numbers there of things that aren't reported. But that was a 10% increase from the previous year. So that's crazy. That is crazy to me. And all of that totaled around $12.5 billion. That's a B. That's with a B. $12.5 billion in terms of financial losses in 2023. That right there should blow your mind.
Yeah, and we see it when we see people losing money, and it's sad that it happens. But they don't care. They don't know you. They're not trying to get to know you. You're a number to them, right? So it's just going to increase because there's money. There's money to be made. It means, where the money is, follow the money. This is the techniques that people are using to make that money.
Yeah, it's just ridiculous. It's crime pays. Now, I don't say that to give anybody any bad ideas or anything, but it's just ridiculous. But so let's get to the meat of the things here. Let's really talk about why we're here, and that is, let's explore the different paths that someone who's interested in cybersecurity or in cybersecurity and ready to take the next step in their career, what are some of the areas where they can go? Like, where can cybersecurity take you? What are some of those positions? John, you got anything for those real quick?
Yeah, I mean, I think that if you look at, if you're in IT and you want to get in security, so at least you've got some IT fundamentals. Let's say you're there, and most people see the cool stuff, and that's where they want to go first: penetration testing, red teaming. But there's so many different avenues, just like in IT. I think IT is a good analogy, because if you look at IT, there's so many different things you can specialize in. You could be a database administrator. You could be an application developer. You could be a system administrator. You could be a cloud engineer. There's just everything, right? Which is good. And it gives you a flavor of different things to try. Same thing with security. There's like technical routes, technical paths. There is compliance paths. There's a mixture where you start kind of getting into, well, you may have management for technical. Eventually, maybe you want to be a manager. Could be on either side, technical or compliance. And then there's kind of the mesh between those as a CISO, where you need to really know enough about those domains to be able to be the leader of the organization from the security standpoint. So what are some of those technical paths, Steve?
Yeah, so some of the technical paths that you could take would be a security analyst. You can be a security analyst, a penetration tester, security architect. That's just to name a few, but really you're using the skills that you have accumulated from previous positions, whether it be networking, whether it be in IT support, and really utilize that to then add in some cybersecurity to that, and then increase your knowledge in those positions. And if you are trying to start a career in cybersecurity, I would recommend the security analyst role. It usually lends itself so that the individual in that role can kind of have their hands in a lot of different areas and experience a lot of different things. And then from there, you're usually in a good position to then decide, okay, I think I rather go into engineering, or I think I rather go into management, or I think I rather go into um, auditing or kind of the GRC area. So it's a good role to start.
Yeah, like in IT, well, I get started kind of in the help desk area, that domain. It's you may hear it called kind of the help desk for security. You get your feet wet, you're triaging, you're doing customer service, you're talking to folks and trying to work with them and help them troubleshoot issues for the security side. And so it is a good place to get started because there's a need for it. And most people don't stay there forever. You just get kind of burned out. You can get burned out. It just depends. But it's a good kind of, usually you'll see that as an entry level security analyst, a SOC analyst is not a bad thing. And one thing that, I talked about this before, back when I got into security, there weren't any entry level positions. You had to get some skills and get lucky to move into things. And those skills usually were in three pillars, networking, application development, coding, or system administration, operating systems. And so those skills, though, those are still important for building on. So say, again, if you're in IT and you're a network engineer and you're wanting to get into security, okay, well, it's an easier jump for you to jump potentially into a role from your skills and your experience in networking to like a network security role. And that could be a firewall manager, administrator for network equipment. I mean, we have all these tools and techniques that we use on the network side, and you're kind of that go-to person to build these things in. Same thing with the system administration. Maybe that's your forte and that's what you understand and you're good at it. Well, there's a need there for operating systems, endpoint security engineers, right? That it's a huge need as a domain. So you can use your strengths and what you lean toward on the technical side, that can really be an easier path for you to jump into. Because if your forte is operating systems, and now you want to be a network security engineer, well, you got to start over at the network stuff. You got to really learn those fundamentals to then potentially go into a network security position normally. If you're a coder and you wanted to be an endpoint security engineer, well, you got to kind of get your skills up in the operating system domain to be ready to move into that position. So it's not impossible, and it's good to have a primary and a secondary, and then also have experience in these other domains, in my opinion. But focus on what is it you like and what are your strengths, and then start looking for those pathways to those other areas.
Yeah, no, well said. I think one of the other areas, incident response and forensics. I believe, that's also a good area to kind of get started, or even up to mid-level in someone's career. And it's areas that are highly needed. You think about incident response. I mean, you're there. You're always in there in the middle of these big incidents, and it's highly needed position. Also digital forensics, right? Again, you're in every single investigation performing some forensics. And I have seen a lot of individuals who may be transitioning from um, law enforcement, and they're trying to move into a new career, into new areas. And incident response and forensics are where I just see them shine, or I have seen them shine, because they're using a lot of their investigative knowledge and experience that they, learned and were doing day to day in and out. But now they're bringing that and kind of putting it into a different lens and tackling different problems, still, keeping that in the back of their mind. So, and in some of the skills you would need for some of those positions, right? Learning, obviously, with forensic, learning some forensic tools and software, understanding, legal protocols and how to handle data and how to handle certain hardware. If you're within an incident, um, being able to analyze breaches, staying calm, right, under high stress situations, effective communication skills, right, being able to describe what's going on in a manner where even someone who may not be as technical as you is able to understand what's the gravity of the situation, and be able to recommend preventative measures. So, also another area for for all you listening, if you're interested, that's another area to consider.
Yeah, one thing that came to mind as we're talking is the SANS.org cybersecurity skills roadmap that gives you kind of an idea of the different domains and focused job roles. It's actually a pretty good tool to kind of give you the potential paths. And there's the monitoring and detection path, right, which we're talking about incident response, network intrusion detection, monitoring path. There's the offensive operations path. You're doing pen testing, you're learning how to do the advanced level, you're doing cloud pen testing, social engineering, etc., advanced levels of that. And then there's incident response and threat hunting forensics. You're doing advanced IR, doing threat hunting, different levels, different types. And then at the bottom, they have, well, let me keep going. They have a cloud security path and an industrial control systems path. And then at the end, they have a management path. So I like that roadmap because it kind of gives you an idea of what areas and what skills to map out that you can go down a path and or mix and match. I actually think you should mix and match, do a little bit in each area. You want to have your forte, you want to have your go-to, but for example, red and blue, and you can see that in this chart. I think it's good to have both and not just be so focused on blue, which is defense, monitoring, detection, that you don't understand the attacks enough and how an attacker might do execute an attack. That once you understand that, now you're like, oh, okay, this is how I would do it. And that helps make defense better. So offense informs defense, defense informs offense. But it's a cool little tool that you could be like, this is how I could map what I would potentially, what's available from a skill standpoint that also maps back to potential jobs.
Yeah, no, that's a good idea. That's a good thought. I didn't even think about that chart. And so, what's it called again for our listeners, John?
So, and we can add this link to the show notes. So it's basically SANS.org. It's the cybersecurity skills roadmap. And we've used that for our folks to kind of map out training. Okay, you're leaning this way. This is what some options are, whether or not you even do SANS training or not, which, it's good training too. But it could give you, I need to focus on this area of training to level up my skills in that path.
Perfect. Yeah, no, and I think as you guys listening, if you finish this podcast and have some additional questions, we're always available. Please reach out on our link on our Discord and on LinkedIn, and we'll be happy to recommend some certs and just kind of help guide you down the right path for a specific position. But let's continue. So, moving away from the technical side of things and going more into the management, administrative, or strategy tracks. So some of the positions there obviously would be cybersecurity manager, chief information security officer, CISO, and there, it's I'll share a story. So I started, started as an intern, graduated college, and started into an information security analyst role. I worked in that role almost 3 years, was able to do a little bit of everything from handling incident tickets, to running our vulnerability scanner, to doing some red team stuff, doing some helping with audits. I mean, I was able to just get my hands into everything. And that's why earlier I kind of recommended that as a good starting point, because I was able to experience that myself. Then that kind of led me into more of a leader role. I was then leading the vulnerability management area within that company, focusing more on vulnerability management, also auditing as well. And then I was presented with an opportunity to go into management. Now, this was not, I didn't have this planned. It just kind of happened. It was amazing opportunity. I wouldn't change anything at all, but I wasn't planning on that, right? I was under the impression that I needed way more years under my belt before I could, be at a managerial role. And it was an amazing opportunity for me. I learned a lot, right? It was a lot of trial and error. I had a good mentor at the time that, kind of helped me, guide me along the way. And I learned a lot. And I wouldn't have, you know, been able to do that if I hadn't just gone for it. If I wouldn't have just said, you know what, I don't care that I may not be the most qualified person for this. I'm going to apply. I'm going to try for it. I'm going to strive because this is what I would like to do next. And just continuing to learn, being open for feedback, right? Because when you're put in a position where you may not feel like you're 100% there, just being open for feedback, being open to learn, all of that. I mean, all of that helps you tremendously. So getting into that managerial role, I learned something very, 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 very quickly. You have to be a people person. You have to. Because from that point, and now this could be on some situations, but from my experience, it is very hard to be what people call a technical manager, where you still have your hands on keyboard and you're able to successfully manage a large number of individuals within your team. It's difficult. I'm not saying it can't be done. And for all you out there who are doing it successfully, power to you. But it was something that I realized very quickly, where you kind of shift from focusing on the technical side of things, being there in incidents, hands on keyboard, doing things, managing your systems, to now you're transitioning into managing individuals, managing different personalities, managing different ways people handle feedback, different ways people work, what works for some, what type of communication works for some individual doesn't work for the other. So it is very, very people focused. So you just have to keep that in mind. And it just seems as you kind of climb up in what people call the corporate ladder, it does tend to be more people focused. Do you agree, John?
Yeah, I mean, you go from, and I did similar. It's like I was very technical. That's all I did. That's all I wanted to do, and I didn't really want to be a manager because I didn't want to do all the homework and people work. But it did. I'm glad I did. But it does shift from me focused. Hey, I'm trying to get better. I want to be the best technical person ever that I could be. To now, it's us. It's the team. It's how do we do this together? How do I build them up? How do I manage them effectively? How do I give them goals? How do I support them? How do I mentor them? It definitely shifts that. It's a totally different shift. Now, I would say, a pretty technical CISO. Some CISOs come up kind of more just the GRC path, but I came up the technical path. And I like that. I like being technical. I'm still pretty technical. I'm not doing technical day to day hands on keyboard stuff most of the time, but I can, and I understand it, and I can translate well. That's the other thing. But for sure, the thing that got me to CISO level is my social and people skills. Without those skills, I would definitely not be CISO. And being able to communicate effectively, lead people, be a good manager, and motivate people to get stuff done. If you can't motivate people to get stuff done, you are not going to be good at management. You're not going to be good as a leader. And so those skills, as you're thinking about your journey, and you're thinking about, if you CISO, for example, you need to be working on those along the way. Don't try to get to the end of, you're the lead technical guy, and now I'm going to add those things in to get people to be a people person. And you don't, by the way, you don't have to be a people person. You just need to be people focused, right? But it's best, in my opinion, to bake that stuff in now along your journey, the soft skills side of things, not just the technical side. So do the technical things, and along the way get better also at social skills and soft skills that will make you ready for that management or that leadership position.
Yeah, and it's funny. So I'm doing some leadership training now, and there was a big discussion at the beginning that said, once you get to these kind of managerial leader roles, right? There's a scale, right, between leading, managing, and doing. And doing should be the least on that scale. You should be managing and leading more than actually doing. So it's definitely something that even before I took this training, I just realized I just had to do that, because there was no way that I could still be hands on keyboard all the time, plus manage the team, plus kind of help build the big picture. Like there was no way. It was just way too much. So it was very eye opening. It was a great experience. I take nothing back. I've loved what I've done ever since. But it was definitely not what I expected. I honestly didn't even know what to expect. But once I was there, I was like, okay, this is completely different. So just, keeping that in mind for all of you listening that would like to get to that role or any of those positions. It like John said, start working those people skills now, because they will come handy later on.
100%. And you actually you have been better positioned for the lead manage do than I was. I was like 80% do when I was still trying to be a director, and I was like, John, you gotta do something here. I had that same conversation. And for me, I guess, kind of wrapping up a little bit, as far as like the CISO role, and I've talked about this a little, is that whatever path you choose, technical, GRC, governance, risk, and compliance, you really need to be able to do both. If I want to be CISO, number one, understand what that is, but just like working on your communication skills and your leadership skills and your management skills, working to understand both sides of that coin, because you're going to have to oversee both, and you have to be able to lead both initiatives. And that could be deploying new policies, implementing policies, writing policies. And then in the next minute, you're over here helping lead and understand an investigation for an event, right? So you need to be able to be, in my opinion, the jack of all trades comes in handy, because you're going to have to speak both sides and be able to understand both sides. So don't get too focused. If I were going to go back, I would probably do more compliance along my journey than I did up until, okay, now I'm going to be CISO.
Yes, I agree. And something that I have strived for is be well-rounded, right? So have experience, be able to dabble in a lot of the different areas. My experience is started just like I guess most people on the technical side of things. I did kind of put myself out there at one point to be more on the GRC side and learn more of that before then, coming back to a leadership role because I wanted to be kind of well-rounded and get the full picture. And that's another recommendation to all the listeners, right? It benefits you in your professional career, even if it's a little bit, to kind of well-round yourself of all these different skills so that you're, even at a basic level, you have some knowledge of what's going on, so that you can, put yourself in situations that will benefit you and your career. So, all right. Any concluding thoughts, John, on just the career paths within cybersecurity?
No, just quickly, it's exciting because there are so many paths on this journey. It is choose your own adventure, which I like to say. You can choose your own adventure and stay in a path or cross paths or jump around or red team, blue team, whatever, right? The need is there. The demand is there. So it gives you a lot of flexibility.
Yeah. Thank you, John. I completely agree. So thank you all for listening. It has been another episode from Cybersecurity Mentors podcast. We will continue soon. If you have any questions on what you heard today, please feel free to reach out to us again on our Discord and on our LinkedIn page. We'd be happy to chat with you. If you have any questions on some of the information specific information that John mentioned or that I talked about, please reach out. We'll be happy to share any links, data, anything at all that you would like. Or if you want to share your story and share kind of some of the career paths that you've been on, also please let us know on our Discord and our LinkedIn. With that, thank you all. Have a great day.
Thank you. See ya.
Thank you for tuning in to today's episode of the Cybersecurity Mentors podcast.
Remember to subscribe to our podcast on your favorite platform so you get all the episodes. Join us next time as we continue to unlock the secrets of cybersecurity mentorship.
Do you have questions or topics you'd like us to cover, or do you want to share your journey? Join us on Discord at Cybersecurity Mentors Podcast and follow us on LinkedIn. We'd love to hear from you.
Until next time, I'm John Hoyt.
And I'm Steve Higuereta.
Thank you for listening.